You're sitting across from someone you've known for years. Maybe they're a friend, a partner, or even someone from your family. They laugh when you laugh. They nod when you cry. Their words sound right, reassuring, supportive, and human. And yet, something in your chest tightens and a quiet dissonance creeps in. You feel like you're speaking into a mirror that reflects movement, not meaning. The warmth you expected never arrives. Later, you can't explain it. You tell yourself you're overthinking and are being too sensitive, you're just projecting. But the emptiness lingers, not inside you, but around them, as if something essential and real is missing. This video is for those moments, the ones we suppress, excuse, or spiritually gaslight ourselves over. Because the truth is unsettling. Not everyone you meet is fully there. Some people aren't connected to soul, or never were. This isn't about good or evil. It's about presence, essence, soul depth. Across ancient traditions and modern theories, there are echoes of this idea. The Gnostics warned of archons, beings who imitate but do not possess divine spark. In Buddhism, the cycle of samsara traps the unconscious in endless repetition. Vedantic texts speak of those veiled by avidya, spiritual ignorance so complete it mimics life without touching it. And today, simulation theory whispers of NPCs, non-player characters, who act, speak, and move, but are not exactly real. Psychology has its own vocabulary: narcissistic emptiness, emotional mimicry, alexithymia, clinical words for what some of us feel in our bones, a vacancy wearing a mask. This video is not about blame or ego. It's about discernment, about trusting your nervous system when it tells you something is off. You are not imagining it. Your energy knows. In the next few minutes, we'll explore 5 subtle but unmistakable signs that someone in your life may be spiritually hollow. Not to label them, but to protect yourself. Because when you can name the emptiness, you can stop pouring your light into it. Stay with me. This might explain more than you expect. You've just opened your heart. Maybe it was grief, a dream, a raw confession. The person across from you reacts exactly how they should. Tilted head, furrowed brows, soft voice. They say all the right words. But when they speak, you feel colder, more alone. Something inside you recoils. Not because they said the wrong thing, but because nothing behind their words reached you. This is the first sign. You're engaging with someone who mimics empathy, but doesn't actually feel it. They study emotion like a script. Smile here, touch the shoulder there. Their eyes mirror sadness, but the moment has no pulse. You walk away emptier, like your pain was acknowledged by a machine that knew the sequence, but not the meaning. Modern psychology recognizes this too. Narcissistic traits often include affective detachment, understanding emotion without absorbing it. People high in alexithymia show blankness behind familiar expressions. They appear human, but lack the inner resonance that gives emotion depth. Ancient traditions warned us as well. Gnostic texts describe entities that imitate life, but have no light of their own. Their purpose isn't to connect, but to keep things running, like placeholders. The simulation model calls them NPCs, scripted agents who perform but don't perceive. What matters isn't how someone behaves, it's what you feel in their presence. Some people cry beside you and leave you feeling held. Others cry beside you and something feels missing. This distinction is subtle, but unmistakable. It's in the delay between your vulnerability and their reaction. It's in the way they tilt their head, but never their soul. And yet, you hesitate to trust that feeling. Because from the outside, nothing is wrong. They look like they care. But emotional mimicry isn't empathy. It's echo. The soul can tell the difference. If you've walked away from comfort and felt more alone, if their kindness felt cold, if their presence made you question your own aliveness, pay attention. This isn't hypersensitivity, it's perception, and it's trying to show you who's really there. You share something real, a strange synchronicity, a quiet fear, a moment that shook your sense of reality. They reply instantly. Everything happens for a reason, or just stay positive. Their face is calm, their tone smooth. but something in their response leaves you suspended, like you've spoken into a closed circuit. This is the second sign. They rely on scripts instead of presence. Some people speak in recycled phrases. Their words carry no pause, no friction, no sign of inner engagement. It's as if their language is drawn from a database. Spiritual quotes, social cliches, borrowed affirmations. They don't ask questions. They don't reflect. They recite. You start noticing patterns. Their conversations follow predictable shapes. Their beliefs sound curated, never questioned. Their identity is a collage of trends, groups, and teachings they've adopted wholesale. In simulation theory, these are agents of programmed consciousness, beings coded for function, not inquiry. Esoteric texts describe spiritual automata, reactive, articulate, but hollow of insight. It's not always shallow. Some speak about enlightenment, energy, even soul, but their words feel disconnected from their eyes. They speak of depth they've never touched. You might feel strange calling it out, even to yourself, because nothing they said was offensive or wrong. But when someone speaks from within, you feel it. And when they don't, you feel that too. This can be disorienting, especially when their words imitate wisdom. But imitation has a rhythm, rehearsed, clean, uninterrupted. Real presence interrupts itself. It hesitates, stumbles, feels through the unknown. Soullessness isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet precision, responses that arrive too fast, convictions that were never tested, voices that echo others but never question themselves. Think back. Have you ever walked away from a conversation and realized you weren't truly heard, that their response could have been given to anyone? You didn't imagine that. You encountered someone who doesn't speak from essence, but from memory. When real presence meets you, it responds with something unpredictable, alive. They move through life with steady predictability, job, bills, family gatherings, conversations that orbit weather, headlines, surface routines. But when something strange or beautiful happens, dreams, synchronicities, questions of meaning, they offer no response. Or worse, a shrug. This is the third sign. There's no curiosity, no inner movement, no seeking. Some people navigate the world as if everything is settled. They show no hunger for deeper understanding, no spark of wonder, no discomfort in not knowing. They don't ask why. They don't ask anything. You try to introduce a question that's haunted you for years. Their eyes glaze. They change the subject. The mystery you offered falls flat, like handing a mirror to someone who's never looked inside. In Vedantic philosophy, those veiled by avidya live under illusions so thick that truth no longer calls to them. In Buddhism, beings caught in samsara repeat cycles without reflection. And in Jungian psychology, those without an inner witness drift, reacting to life instead of engaging with it. Curiosity signals life. When the soul is present, it wants to know. Even in pain, even in confusion, it reaches. But when that reaching is absent, completely, consistently, you're not just dealing with someone uninterested. You're facing absence itself. You might try again. A philosophical question, a spiritual idea, something intimate, like your fear of death or the meaning behind a dream. They might nod politely, offer a simple answer, then return to small talk. You don't feel dismissed. You feel unseen. It's easy to confuse this with emotional unavailability or trauma shutdown. But the difference is in the continuity, the complete lack of exploration. No glimmer of what if, no sign of self-questioning. Ask yourself, have they ever shared a moment of real doubt? A time they questioned their own identity, or looked into the unknown with wonder or fear? If not, the silence you feel isn't distance, it's vacancy. Souled beings feel pulled to the mystery, even when they resist it. The hollow ones don't resist. They don't notice it's there. You leave the interaction feeling foggy, tired, a little off-center. It wasn't dramatic. There were no harsh words or obvious conflict, but something in you feels dimmed. This is the fourth sign. Their presence depletes you, quietly, consistently. Some people extract energy without effort. It happens in conversation, in silence, even through a screen. You may enter feeling grounded, but within minutes, you're unsteady. Your thoughts scatter. Your body slumps. You don't feel harmed. You feel emptied. They might be polite, pleasant, but nothing alive passes between you. No spark, no shared resonance, just a slow drain. Modern research touches this through concepts like social fatigue and emotional labor. Mirror neurons respond when we engage with others, but when there's no authentic signal to mirror, your system works harder, trying to find connection where there is none. That strain becomes exhaustion. Some traditions describe these dynamics energetically. Energy vampires may not act maliciously, but they siphon vitality. They occupy space without presence. You reach for connection and hit absence. Your nervous system notices before your mind does. Maybe your chest tightens. Maybe your senses dull. Maybe you feel as if the world around you has gone slightly gray. It often builds slowly. You might not realize what's happening until you've seen the pattern. Repeated encounters that leave you tired, irritable, disconnected from yourself. What's missing isn't kindness or conversation. What's missing is soul contact, reciprocity, a subtle exchange that affirms your existence. Without it, you start pouring energy into silence. Simulation theory describes this as broadcasting to non-responsive nodes. You're alive in the interaction. They're just operating. You may question your reaction. You may call yourself overly sensitive. But over time, your body starts to recognize the signature. Still eyes, blank energy, perfect politeness masking a complete absence of return. Trust that signal. It doesn't lie. You open up. Maybe it's a dream that won't let go, a grief that changed you, a moment of awe that cracked something open inside you. You offer it carefully, sensing its weight. And in return, silence, confusion, a shift in their eyes. They don't know where to meet you, because they can't. This is the fifth sign. There's no access point between their surface and your depth. It's not discomfort with emotion. It's absence of contact, no resonance, no echo, as if your truth passed through them untouched. You try again, a question about death, a story about synchronicity, the memory of a moment that changed how you see the world. They smile faintly, change the subject, or nod with polite distance. You're speaking from your soul, but nothing lands. Over time, this becomes unmistakable. With some people, your vulnerability softens the space. It deepens connection, but with them, it vanishes into still air. Spiritual systems have long spoken of these limits. Gnostics believed certain entities lacked the divine spark altogether. Buddhism describes being still caught in cycles of delusion, incapable of reflection. Even simulation theory hints at agents who function, but don't truly engage. This isn't unfamiliarity, it's incapacity. They may say they care. They may even want to understand. But when you bring something sacred, there's no shift, no stillness, no recognition. You start to feel the loneliness of trying to meet someone where they cannot follow. And the grief that comes with realizing the limit is permanent. You may have hoped they'd eventually feel it, that one day something would stir, but some connections never deepen because there's nothing within them to deepen into. That realization cuts cleanly, but it also frees you. You no longer need to shrink, rephrase, or translate your inner world to be understood. You simply need to stop offering it where it disappears. You can love people, you can care for them, but you must know when your soul is speaking into silence. Maybe you felt it for years, around coworkers, in friendships, even in family. A subtle absence you couldn't explain. You told yourself it was mood, timing, projection, but deep down, your body always knew. Now you have words, not to judge, but to recognize. Some people are simply not built for soul connection. They function, they respond, they exist beside you, but they don't meet you. Not in presence, not in depth, and the more you try, the more you feel yourself disappearing. This clarity isn't cruelty, it's awareness. When you see the signs, mimicked emotion, scripted words, hollow silence, you can stop pouring yourself into places that can't hold you. You'll still feel the ache, the grief of realizing someone you love isn't truly with you. But that grief is cleaner than confusion. It's honest. And from it comes a new kind of strength. You don't need to explain your perception. You don't need to convince anyone. You only need to trust what you've always felt. That presence has weight. That real connection vibrates. And that your soul can feel when it's alone in a room full of people. Protect that awareness. It's sacred. And if this spoke to something you've never been able to name, you're not the only one. Feel free to share what resonated in the comments. Your clarity may help someone else. Subscribe if you'd like more content like this. And keep exploring. You don't need to wake anyone up. You just need to stay awake. Thanks for watching.